see. Green and yellow snowflakes do the little dance for me. My favorite laughter fills the room hysterically. For I have done most anything I want to do. Now I've done it all, my life is closed.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Psychic Eric here. Acid Archive Diaries number 28. And if you guys don't know, this is a video series that I've been doing ever since March of this year. It's a thread started by Seeking a Thread, Dom. There's a playlist out there. If you guys search out Acid Archive Diaries, you should be able to find a playlist. And this is one of those guidebooks in case you're interested in diving in deep into the realms of U.S. psych and private press world. It's a good book, man. And I still discover things in here, stuff I might have overlooked. And today we're talking about a good one. And I was trying to think, well, I've covered a lot of bases, right? I'm trying to sink into all these different subgenres within the book. You know, you got some classic psych titles, Auto Salvage, right? Definitely one that people talk about. And then the rarity scales, you know, stuff like Plastic Cloud. Then you have the whole private press world and your kind of oddball people, Bob Larson and Bob Harrison. So I was trying to think, well, what subgenre, what subcategory haven't I channeled into yet? And I was thinking, well, the archival sessions, stuff that hadn't been released back in the day, but later got a brand new life, you know, in the 2000s or maybe even in the 90s. And this is one such case where it wasn't released until 2006, almost 20 years ago now. And today we're talking about a good one here. This is Beauregard Ajax with Deaf Priscilla. Now, this whole artwork and even the title Deaf Priscilla wasn't even originally the plan for this record. I think Shadox, this is a Shadox pressing. They basically just came up with the title due to one of the tracks on here, and definitely one of the stronger tracks. And I think it works for the title track. It's kind of placed pretty well in the track listing, and it's a standout for sure. Yeah, the whole artwork, even the front and back, is their property. I don't know where they came up with the artwork, but it's charming for sure. So the background story. So this was recorded at Western Sound Recorders in LA back in April 4th, it claims, of 1968. I'm pretty sure it was more than one day, though, because it sounds like they put a lot of work into, you know, fixating all the different things going on here, because some different interviews and blogs that I've read, looking this thing up, it looks like we're doing a lot of practice sessions in this new studio, and some of them I think were going to school at the time, so they would record this in the after school hours. Yeah, so they were all advised, and this was basically produced by Bob Keane of Delphi Recordings, who had the fame of signing Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, Bobby Fuller 4, among many artists. And it's kind of an odd label to be signed on, right? Because it's a lot of like surf bands, certainly nothing quite psychedelic at the time. Very few inklings of that on that label. But they were running out of studio at the time, and I think, so notoriously, this record has kind of a crude lo-fi recording sound, and there's a lot of reasons for that. It kind of sounds like a secondhand bootleg copy that this got pressed on, and I kind of like that. I like the charm about that, but it's unfortunate at the same time. I mean, this was planning to be released at the time because the producers or whoever discovered them had a keen ear for this kind of style and wanted to get hip with the times. They signed him up, and then I think within weeks, maybe a week or two, finishing the whole mastering process and just all the little embellishments they had to add on to yet. I mean, this was like 90% done, and I think they were going to add some strings onto it eventually, just to kind of give it a little nuance to it. And the studio kind of folded up. They ran out of money and found out that they had moved their studio elsewhere, and the tape vaults, wherever they land now, It's reported that they might still linger within like Warner Music Group vaults, but they've just never been found, the original masters, so I don't know how. I think this got recorded onto a tape dub somehow and just got passed along. I couldn't really give you the full details because it's a little fuzzy. You can definitely hear some of the tape flutter. You know, there's a bit of dipping in and out. But for what this is, the songwriting pushes through. This is one of the best archival session records I've heard in a long time. And not too many records surpass this in the category, I don't think. And I mean, there's several out there, but as far as like this style of music, so musically they're kind of channeling in, I would say, like a West Coast folk rock direction. Maybe not too far from the Charlatans or Buffalo Springfield, but maybe not as countrified or as rural as that sounds. But definitely that kind of jangly 12-string thing kind of going on, a little birdsy, you could say. But they also channel in a weird UK pop site kind of vibe at the same time. You wouldn't think those two styles would blend together that well, but somehow they make it work. And it's reported the lead singer, I don't know who, if it's one of these guys, the songwriters on top, but he is definitely channeling in a fake British accent on purpose. But it kind of works. I mean, a couple of these tracks you would not expect from a US group. I could definitely see Deaf Priscilla or the track Kaleidoscope being featured on like the Nuggets 2 compilation if it was like a little more cleaned up and you had the final mastering job. But yeah, man, this has got some great moments. There's really no lulls in this for me. Even regardless of any flaws within the tape dub. So you got a track that opens up with Loneliness as a Sometime Thing.
You're just like me, just like me.
It kind of reminds me of this band. I pulled this record out for a reference. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Novels, the way the rhythm kind of kicks in, some of the drumming, a lot of snare action going on. It's not too far from that sound, maybe not as garagey, and certainly not very electric either. It's, like I said, very, maybe it's electric guitars, but it's a very clean sound. Some people might dip out with those next three tracks because they're a little slower, a little moodier, and there's definitely some panning issues on there. I think a lot of what you hear is on the left channel, and there's like very little things going on the right. But once it picks up on the fourth track, is Tomorrow Thursday, things get a little more upbeat once again, and a little more energetic at the same time. There's like an electric solo in there. Things definitely ramp back up after the little pieces from track 2 to track 4. And then you got Dead Woman Blues, blue violins, kind of doing some interesting things. And there's a little bit of like vocal delay on a couple tracks as well. It gives it kind of a nice filter, different layer to the tracks. And then one of my top 3 tracks from this record, Things Will Work Out Fine. I featured that in a Psychedelic Trip not too long ago, back when I was doing those. And I'll probably feature a sample of that in here somewhere.
Take your rings, take your things, take them all away. Take your time, or you will find things won't work today.
Definitely what I love about pop psych. I love the harmony work. I love the lyrics. And it's got a little bit of a recorder action going on. Leading up to another big highlight, Deaf Priscilla, the title track. It's got some reverse reverb effects. And then the whole ending has this kind of crescendo with the Deaf Priscilla chorus. Really excellent song, man. Definitely UK inspired. Just a lovely, kind of dreamy, kind of lush pop psych track. And then just to add those tape elements, you know, the kind of damaged master tape sound to it gives it a very unique charm. And then you got a track called Try Some Tomorrow, which I featured in that short, kind of hinting towards this entry, this Acid Archive entry, if you guys were wondering what that track was. And then finally leading up to another monstrous closing track, Kaleidoscope, opens up into this 12-string arrangement. Again, got some kind of vocal filters mixing in there, some vocal delays, and a very cool guitar solo in there as well, and a great hook, great chorus hook. Just closes on a banger with that one. So 14 tracks in total, and this one, I think this is one of the best titles Shadow's ever released, in my opinion. So I jotted a few notes down here in case I forgot some things, and I forgot to mention how they all formed. So they formed as the Poets in a town called Oxnard, California. They were also known as the Dumplings, even before this name came about, primarily known as the Dumplings, which is an awful name. And some of the band members even agreed with that. And yes, I mentioned the Bob Keane, and they were actually on the same bill as the Byrds for a time. They played maybe a couple gigs with them under the name The Dumplings. I'll show a little photo of the concert bill, as well as a few other photographs I found online, and just some of the fine tuning, you know, before the studio kind of folded in on itself. And they played some different avenues, you know. They didn't really tour much outside of LA. They just played the regular circuits, Whiskey A Go Go, and, you know, some gigs around Sunset Strip. They didn't venture off too far. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got on this. So yeah, April of '68 this was recorded. Very typical of the time period. If you guys like that West Coast it's got kind of a moodiness about it all the way through as well. Very melancholy, kind of downer folk rock, blending in with some UK pop psych, some of the more upbeat tracks, and some dreamy aspects. So that's a winner for me, man. I love that stuff. So don't expect any heavy fuzz numbers. I mean, the only time they really use distortion is kind of more on the guitar solos. There's like a couple moments, but otherwise the songwriting's pretty strong for what it is for original tracks. And I did not have this one bookmarked, but it shouldn't take me too long here. Here it is. Beauregard Ajax, Oxnard, California. It says it came out in 2005, and I think this vinyl pressing, it's pretty limited. I think 350 copies or something like that. It's a pretty small run, and this is to this day, the only vinyl pressing. So then it says 2006 the CD came out. Yeah, it says it right here, 350 pressed. And then I guess it has some bonus tracks on the CD. I think they're just slightly different variations of the tracks, from what I recall. But this one's from SB, who I don't remember who that is. I think it's Scott Bruberg, or Brubig. Or no, it's actually Scott Blackerby under SB, who I've not come across yet in these entries yet. Okay, so it says, with druggy vocals, lots of fuzz guitar. No, not lots of fuzz guitar. Great melodies and some interesting lyrics. Tracks like Loneliness Is a Sometime Thing, Is Tomorrow Thursday, and Blue Violins feature ingredients that should make this previously unreleased 1968 album a sought-after set among psych collectors. While I'm reluctant to compare anything to the Beatles, since such comparisons usually fall flat, several tracks recall the Fab Four's Revolver period. Only the popish Happy Brontosaurus and the ballad Take You Far Away are on the weak side. The CD version comes from a tape source provided by the band. While slightly superior in fidelity, the mix on the preceding vinyl release was better. Originally known as the Dumplings, the band recorded the Beauregard Ajax material over several months under Bob Keane, Delphi's guidance. However, Delphi were forced into bankruptcy just as the recordings were being completed in early '68, and the band couldn't even get access to their own recordings. That's kind of messed up. When Delphi was revived in the 1990s, the session tapes were discovered, and a few dupes were sent out to collectors and led to the German releases several years later. On last report, the original session tapes had vanished again. Okay, so maybe they were taken from the vaults, but they lie within the hands of someone overseas, perhaps. Anyways, highly recommend this one. This is definitely one that I think some of you pop psych, West Coast folk rock people will like out there. If you like your stuff kind of down, kind of on the moodier aspects, this is fantastic. Really enjoyed this one. I guess I don't remember how the panning sound. I'm so used to streaming it too, so maybe the vinyl does sound a little better. Maybe that's the CD version they ripped onto YouTube. But yeah, it'd been a while since I've listened to the actual vinyl, but yeah, upon revisiting, still love the hell out of this one. The Dumplings, Deaf Priscilla. Yeah, I think they only went under Beauregard Ajax, and it was like some fictional character one of the band members made up. But I think they only went under that name, like just very, very momentarily, just for a brief moment. So check her out. The whole upload is on YouTube. And hope you guys have a good weekend. I'm recording this in the middle of the week, actually. But I just want to have something to release this weekend. So we'll see what number 29 looks like. And I should have a vinyl update coming up soon. I have enough for that. Stuff I picked up locally here for the most part. Except for, like, I think one order, perhaps. One online order. Brown Acid compilation. Yes, I finally picked up on a volume of the Brown Acid. I don't know if I can collect all 18, man. I'll take up like one cube. Anyways, take care. Check out Beauregard Ajax. We'll see you shortly.